Greetings and salutations to everybody out there in Viewerland. Welcome to Tuesday edition, the Taco Tuesday edition of the Rundown. I am your host for today's program. My name is Mike Piwowarski, and you know what? I don't do this program by myself.
No, you do not, sir. I am Craig DeLuz coming at you from the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras in California. I will be your co-host, your co-pilot, your compadre today for Taco Tuesday.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for joining me here on the Taco Tuesday edition again of the Rundown. It's great to have you with me. How's your day been so far? I mean, here we are sitting. Listen, it's what are we, 5 o'clock East Coast. It's 2 o'clock West Coast out there. Most of the day's gone. How's your day been so far?
My day has been phenomenal. Had an excellent lunch. Had fish tacos today. Got to enjoy some very good fish tacos. It was anyway. The wife hooked me up.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, we have a taco stand here in town. We have many of them actually, but today was my special stop at my special taco stand. It's down in the industrial district by the railroad track in a dirt lot with a tent over it. Over the eating area. So you go out there and you just point to the menu and hold up the how many number of fingers. Three. And she brings it out for you.
Usually the menu is like a whiteboard.
Yep. You just kind of hold out the cash and she takes what she wants and you're like, okay. And it's delicious.
Sounds good. A health inspector's dream.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the beautiful thing about this place. It's on wheels. So, unless the health inspector wants to try and keep up and do the inspection, they go. They had bugs. How'd they get rid of them? Well, they went 70. And they went 70. That's how they got rid of them. So, good stuff. Great tacos. Good people. I mean, I assume they're good people. It's just
if they make good tacos,
food,
then they are good people.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like like saving puppies. You don't need to know anything else about it, right? They save a puppy. I'm going to call him a good person, right?
There you go. That works for me.
Well, Craig, let's get into today's stories, if we shall. The first story is again one of those stories that is being reported absolutely nowhere. I mean, it has now being covered by Fox, but this will be a nothing burger, right? I think is what they're called. The rest of the news media will ignore this completely. The current administration, the Biden administration, is secretly flying youths to the New York State, New York City area. What's that you say? Are you inferring that they might be doing some shenanigans? Well, actually, what I mean is they're shipping thousands of minority children, thousands of underage kids up into. They're flying them. I believe it's up in Westchester County, just outside of New York City. There, they fly them in at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, and then they put them on separate buses and they send them to Long Island, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, as where they're putting these migrant come across the border kids with a very, very small minority of adults, young men in their early 20s. So you've got, from what this story reports, the majority of them are all under 18, with a couple of over 20s or in their early 20s, I guess, serving as the adult guardians. I don't know. But these are Mexican immigrants, illegal immigrants coming across the border.
I am quite sure that these young children are not being trafficked.
Yeah, right. Yeah, probably not at all, right?
Probably not at all. But see that. And this is the sort of stuff. And then the mainstream media doesn't report on it. You have the president say, "Well, you can only come into our country if you're fully vaccinated." And then we continue. And then by the way, we know that none of these young people have been vaccinated. In fact, most of them haven't even been tested. What gets me is that you have the administration say one thing, then do another, and the media does absolutely nothing to hold them accountable. Absolutely nothing. And, we're supposed to just accept it. We're supposed to look at it and be like, oh, yeah, no, okay, we get it. It's okay. I don't know exactly. When I talk to people, it's kind of funny. I did an interview yesterday on a topic, and I won't even get into what the topic was, but these are people who are clearly fed by MSNBC, CNN, Mother Jones, and Huffington Post. And it's like the information that I was providing to them, which was just common knowledge. I mean, this is all stuff that's reported, that's out there. They had no idea. They were like, "What?
Yeah.
No, that's not happening." Send them, and I send them links. They're like, "Wow." And you anyway.
No, again, this is absolutely one of those stories, Craig, where when you
Right.
tell somebody, yeah, the administration is shipping kids into New York City. By the way, the same place just over a year ago that the prior administration was working the exact opposite to keep migrant kids from coming in there, to try and keep kids from being trafficked, kids from being exploited now in the tri-state area there. The exact opposite of what was going on is going on today. And when you bring this up and you say it's happening, they say, "Oh, did Q tell you that?" Or was
Right.
that Alex Jones? And you're like, "No, it's on Fox. It's in mainstream media." And
New
they're like,
York Post,
"What?
Washington
What?
Times.
Yeah, what? What? We didn't know that. What?"
Well,
But
and that's why we got. Man, it's important, and I know some people say, "Well, look, I don't read, I don't follow mainstream media." Here's the thing, folks: it's important for us to get all sides of the news. That way, you know what the other side, you know what people are getting, and like we talk about COVID. We talked about this all the time. If if you were only listening to CNN, MSNBC, you would think that there's nothing going on at the border. That the fact that we've ceased doing any work on the wall, you would think that everything was okay and there's nobody coming across the border and everything is fine and hunky dory. If you listen to them, you would think that you would be completely and utterly wrong. You would think that COVID-19 was the Black Plague and that half the people who got it were dying from it. They are pumping out misinformation, and whenever you provide correct information, if it's against their narrative, well, then they censor you and they call it false information or fake news.
yeah, yep, absolutely right. Listen, I know you and I have watched the video on here, and we tell this to people all the time, and they still deny it. Joe's butt's been wiped, right?
Joe's butt's been wiped. He's confessed it.
Yeah, he said it. He said it on the TV. It's clear, and everybody's like, "No, his butt hasn't been wiped." And then you see where he says his butt's been wiped. So now did you not see the story, or did you not believe Joe when he said it? That's a different thing. So
that's what it is. Well, you know what? It's because he's full of feces. So his butt hasn't been wiped today.
I'm not even sure it's feces. I think that's just where he hides the tapioca sometimes. It's just he just puts it in his pants. What? Oh, my butt's been wiped. Oh boy, oh boy. All right, let's move along to another story out of Parkland, Broward County, Florida. The head of Florida's liberal, core, shall we say? Everybody remembers the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting that was in 2018, and that was on Valentine's Day, 2/14/18. So 17 individuals killed, 14 students, 3 teachers at the high school. I'm trying to maintain a narrow focus on this one, Craig, so we're not here for the next several hours talking about the pitfalls and failures of Broward County in the state of Florida at that time. Let's discuss today's ruling, or yesterday's ruling. One of the federal judges down there, there was a lawsuit for negligence placed against the school and the school board, and that award was released yesterday as $25 million. Now, there were, if you recall, the 17 that were killed, and there were 17 others that were wounded, those that were wounded in the gunfire. So this award is meant to be distributed amongst the families of those that were killed and the survivors that were wounded. Now, I want to make sure we clear that up and say survivors that were wounded, not all of these other survivors. Oh, I went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas and I graduated 3 years earlier, but I'm a survivor. Or the kid with no arms, I forget his name. He rode his bicycle back to school after it happened, and he's a survivor. None of those people. They're talking about the actual people that were wounded. But there's now a payout. Now the state had issued some monies beforehand, Craig. This is another payout. Now this will eventually have to be approved by the Florida state legislature. Florida has a rule that nobody gets more than a $300,000 punitive damage payout without the legislature's approval. It's just a way to keep ridiculous lawsuits from occurring. The the standard. Oh,
Well, is
I
it
poured coffee in my lap and I got $1 million
right?
lawsuit.
Is it they don't get more than that in a payout, or they don't get more than that in a settlement, in a payout from a settlement?
It's the award issued at the settlement. So it doesn't matter if it's 301,000 for one person or to be divided amongst 10.
What?
If
No,
the
no, no.
number's over
I mean. So
300,000.
what if they went? What if they went to court? What if they actually just lost the lawsuit? So I find it hard to believe the state of Florida would get to then say, yeah, no, you don't get that money, even if they won the lawsuit.
Yes. Yes, the legislature is there to put the balance on whether the lawsuit and the verdict was just or not.
Wow, I find that hard to believe.
I find that comforting, knowing that if I got some liberal ass court down there that decided to take out $25 million from let's say it's the opposite way around, Craig, $25 million from a conservative, school board, because they view things a different way, that the state legislature would still be able to say yes or no that the verdict was just. Now, remember, we're talking civil verdicts, not criminal, and we're talking awards over 300,000. So there's still the ability there for people to have it. Now, obviously, there was a multiple loss of life. There was 17 lives lost. I don't believe the legislature is going to have any issue at all with this whatsoever. These verdicts, this protection was designed more for the single individual who, again, dumped coffee in their lap and got the $5 million verdict. That's what that's what this law was designed for. But it still covers this because it's over $300,000 in a civil trial.
Well, you still have a legislature that can be trusted.
Yes.
We don't here in the state of California. So that would be a big worry to me, but we don't have anything like that in California. So I don't want to get off on that tangent, but I find that interesting.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the majority of the money will go and be split amongst those the families of the killed. I bring this story up, Craig, because obviously we know the money does not bring back anything. It does not bring back the lives. It does not make anybody whole again. But once again, we've turned to money as the answer to gun violence, rather than holding those responsible that allowed this incident to happen. The Broward County Sheriff's Office and the Broward County School Board, and the local office of the FBI that we all know allowed Nicholas Cruz to be in possession of the firearms, to allowed him to come back onto school. That he was never arrested. The 27 times in contact with the sheriff's office because they were trying to meet a number of juveniles with the Obama's requirement. If you arrest less juveniles, we'll give you more money towards programs. They purposely would not make arrests to Mr. Cruz or anybody else in his same situation. But again, we're going to get some money out of the taxpayers in Florida and Broward County to make this whole, rather than hold those people responsible.
Right. I mean, let's just be real here, folks. This was an individual that law enforcement and education officials knew was a danger and did absolutely nothing about it. And one of the biggest reasons they did nothing about it was because they were part of former President Obama's program to try and not arrest youths and try and keep youths out of prison. And I mean, when you have someone who's when I say clear and present danger, he was a clear and present danger. They knew he was dangerous. They knew he had voiced threats and things along those lines. And yet, 27 contacts with law enforcement, and they did absolutely nothing. I think it's this was kind of an obvious one. The very fact that they got away, I think they got off light at $25 million. But yeah, no, this was beyond crazy. And this is the thing, folks. Ultimately, when they want to then change California, or when they want to change gun laws, right? The thing that they fail to understand is these people who do these things, they violate so many other crimes even before they wind up doing these things. And yet and still you want to blame the tool instead of dealing with and addressing the individual. If they had dealt with this individual, if they had dealt with this person, this could have been prevented, possibly been prevented.
Yeah, listen, I mean, how extreme is this too? Listen, if this is a guy with 27, you know there were people with more, but at a
Right.
minimum, you know there were thousands that had less.
Yes.
So if 27 is the norm, you know, let's say 27 is the extreme, right? You know, there were thousands less than this guy. The crime rate in Broward County is probably, well, let's see. No, we have nobody over the age of 19 committing crimes here. Yet you have these kids running rampant, you know, evidently through neighborhoods and
Right.
business centers, and definitely through schools, and running rampant, killing people.
Right.
That's what happened here, killing people. So, listen, this is more money out of your pockets down there, Broward County. Again, you have to realize and to hold responsible those that have allowed. Now, the governor removed the sheriff down there, Scott Israel, some time ago. But yes, the rest of the sheriff's office down there continues to run the same way they do. The school board, it's just about as corrupt as you can
It
get.
is amazing it is amazing how the people who fight against law and order, the politicians and the bureaucrats who fight against law and order and pass laws that are anti-law and order, eventually wind up without law and order.
Yeah. Right.
It's not a coincidence, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely not. So listen, this is probably, if you think about the numbers too, this is not much to try and, take care of a life that's gone. When you have an award like this, when you see an award, even from a personal injury, it's to replace the salary. It's a salary replacement basically for what that cost would be. So if you're talking kids that were 15, 18 years old, their career or life earnings that would be awarded to their families, you're looking at less than $1 million a family here, and that's nothing in today's
probably almost nothing in punitive damages.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
should have been usually in cases like this will tend to be more.
Yeah, exactly. And again, back to the balance, right? You're suing the Broward County School Board, so here's the issue, right? If I take $100 million from the Broward County School Board, those families are now compensated, right? But now that's $100 million less that the school board has to protect the children from another attack like this occurring. So you see the vicious cycle it gets into.
Well, chances are this will be paid out of, and I'm sure that they have insurance. Where it'll be made up will be in the premiums that school district is now going to have to pay.
Sure, and then the school district will raise the tax rate or the millage rate to make that money back.
Yep.
So it's that vicious cycle. It's exactly what you get. Let's move on to the New York City as de Blasio is trying his best to destroy that city, even on his way out the door. There's nobody there. I reported. We told you I was up there just less than a month ago now, and in Manhattan is still vacant. There might be 25% of the people that have reoccupied Manhattan. That's for living and for business. Everybody else is living in the outside of Manhattan proper, in the boroughs or on the island or in one of the other tri-state area locations. So he's killed it. He's killed it. This place is ridiculous. Now, Craig, in addition to the story we have here about Thomas Jefferson's statue coming out of City Hall, the other one I recently saw was all of the indoor, outdoor dining areas. You know what I'm talking about, Craig? Remember where we couldn't couldn't eat indoors? So we built all these. We built the outdoors indoors, or the indoors outdoors in front of. Well, now, because guess what's happening in New York? Oh, it's starting to get a little cooler. So all of those places are now becoming homeless shelters. So all of these temporary, unauthorized, no standards, little buildings that were put outside, little shacks that were put outside of these restaurants are now becoming homeless shelters. So
exactly what I want to walk past when I'm on my way to a fine dining establishment.
Which means you're not going to get anybody to go fine dining, right? And guess what? The police can't touch the homeless anymore. You know what? Because they're victims. They're victims now. So it's absolutely crazy. But anyway, this story is the statue of Thomas Jefferson has been in City Hall since 1833. All right, 1833. It's been there, which is just shy of 200 years, right? 187, 188 years that it's been there. So the city council has decided over the past couple of years that he's a racist slave owner. We don't care that he wrote the Declaration of Independence. We don't care that he was the third president of the United States, Craig. You have to understand that back then, when he was born, his parents had slaves. When he was alive, he had slaves. And when he died, his children had slaves. And these were not, everybody, again, wants to believe that these were, whipping and killing and shooting people kind of slaves. This was the Northeast, folks. I want to be clear that whereas they may have been slaves, it was probably more of a servitude than anything else. These were members of the family. These were people that lived in the home. I'm not saying that this was a good thing, that servitude was a good thing by any means, but I want you to get that image of the first week off the boat en routes kind of slavery going on. All right. It was slavery wrong? Absolutely, we know slavery is wrong. We also have hundreds of years worth of hindsight to know that. All right. Are there laws that have changed everywhere else in the world over the past 1,000 years? Of course. And nobody's saying, let's go back to it. What we are saying is this man wrote the Declaration of Independence under the normal societal standards of living at the time and became the third president of the United States. But now, because you somehow feel slighted that he had some servants at his house, that you're going to take his statue out of City Hall.
Well, and the other thing is he was an advocate for abolition. I mean, the thing was that the founding fathers knew and understood that if we abolished slavery at the founding of our country, we were going to lose half or more of the colonies. Yes. And so they tried to establish in the very beginning. They tried to create. They said, okay, what's the most that we can do and still hold the Union together, with the recognition that they were not going to be done. They realized that it was an incomplete work. And you only have to go back and read a lot of the writings of Thomas Jefferson to know and to understand that. The fact is that these folks, it goes back to what I've said before. It's this sense of presentism. It's like, I am more morally superior because I'm going to judge you by the values of today, regardless of what the values were at the time of regardless of the time that what you lived or what you did when you did what you did. And that is not a fair comparison, because Mike, you and I are likely going to say something or have said something that 10, 15 years from now could be brought up and we could be canceled or removed because what we have said doesn't meet the moral standard that we put in place 10, 15 years from now. For example, once we get more information about, when life begins, because I think science is actually giving us more and more information about the children in the womb. We're going to as we get more and more information, we're finding out that life begins earlier and earlier. So are we now going to go back and are we now going to remove every politician who supported the taking of life of children in the womb? Because by the new modern definition, 15 years from now, they are considered babies. We can now have a child at 1 month that can live outside the womb. So now we're going to go back and we're going to determine that everybody who was okay with abortion after the first trimester now is basically a baby killer and should now be banned from all public comment it should be banned from public at all.
Listen, and Craig, I'm there with you, but short of the return of a deity, that question will never be answered, because it will always be argued that by 50% that life begins the moment it comes outside of the womb, not if it's sustainable inside the womb. That's just the way that argument's always going to be. It's always going to be 50-50
because what's happened is they always fall back on the idea that it's a constitutional right. And I believe reasonable people can disagree on whether or not abortion should be legal. I don't believe, though, that it rises, and I think that eventually the Supreme Court will come down. And once again, I'm not a legal scholar, but I believe that they'll eventually come down to the point where there's no question that there's still open debate as to whether or not it should be legal, but I think that they're going to eventually decide that it doesn't rise to the level of a constitutional right. And once we get there, then we can have these conversations. Now, I don't know if we are poised as a society to be able to have that conversation, but at least I'd like to be able to have it utilizing the science. But then again, we talk about science with COVID, and we see how that goes in talking with the left.
not to dwell on it too
Yeah.
much longer, but I think, and I think you might agree with me on this, the issue of when does life start, and I still believe that's much closer to 50-50 than we realize. That's remained constant over the years. What I believe that has changed is the tolerance of pro-choice and pro-life. Now that has slipped far away from the 50-50 argument that it used to be, and that's just because of the way society has changed. So I don't know if that makes sense. The legality of pro-choice, pro-life is different than the legality of when life begins.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm not sure. I don't want to spend another hour getting into the philosophy of that,
but here's the thing, and getting back to Jefferson, wouldn't it be nice to be able to have a public conversation about who Thomas Jefferson was? I'll bet you most people couldn't even tell you who Thomas Jefferson was.
Well, they didn't. We don't listen. The public conversation was that the city council decided. Now,
Right.
And you know who this is led by? By the way, was it's Charlene McCray. Charlene McCray. She's De Blasio's wife. She never took De Blasio's name. And for those of you that don't know who she is, she was an author, a writer. She was an activist. One of the very early New York City, pro African American woman, and then she was a lesbian woman, and she was a lesbian for a long time until she met Bill de Blasio, who was going to become a politician and a mayor, and then she wasn't a lesbian anymore, and then they had 2 children because they had to have children, and now this was like an old school royalty arranged marriage,
like
we got
Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, and listen, and exactly right. And these two, but this is even worse. This was the anti-white black activist who finally married the white up and coming mayor or soon to be mayor or councilman. Mm-hmm. They had their children. They don't live together. They don't do anything together except ruin New York City. With their policies and committees. So she was at the forefront of this. So now again, another De Blasio project that is helping to destroy the city before he leaves office.
Gotta love De Blasio, don't you?
Yeah, Wilhelm, by the way, real name Willard Wilhelm, because De Blasio didn't sound ethnic enough. Yeah.
Yes, because Wilhelm sounded a little too German.
Yeah. Exactly. You don't get the Jew vote with
a little too Aryan.
With the name of Wilhelm.
There you go. Yeah. His name was a little too Aryan.
Yeah, exactly right. So let's see here. Listen. By the way, De Blasio, I think, was like the grandmother's name. It makes you think he just picked it out of a hat. He went back on his family tree and found a better sounding name. All right, ESPN. Do. Right? Do you hear that in your sleep at all, Craig? Do.
Not often.
Do. Come on. It was a day before ABC and Disney got involved with ESPN that SportsCenter ran on my TV 24/7.
Oh yeah, okay? No, you are 100% correct. It used to be it, and I just got tired of the wokeism on ESPN.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
I'll watch some of the stuff, like if I know they're just doing like a specific sport or talking about, but just it's a little hard to watch nowadays.
It is, but I could still hear it in my sleep. Do.
I used to watch the Will Kane show on there. Will Kane was good.
Man, listen, I loved them all. I loved every sportscaster because when they were out there and they're just doing sports,
right?
They were wonderful. And listen, and my favorite was Stuart Scott, the sportscaster there. And Stuart was actually a guy here from Orlando, so I got to watch him as when he started off as the weekend anchor here on Channel 2 Sports. And worked his way up, and then went to SportsCenter.
My favorite is
God rest his soul. By the way,
my favorite is still Chris Berman when he does the highlights.
Yep. Yep.
Hey, go. Oh no, wait.
Which is great, but I love Stuart too. He's as cool as the other side of the pillow. So he's great stuff. But ESPN has gone the flip flop way now, being ABC owned, being Disney owned. Allison Williams, one of the reporters there for ESPN, has been told that your deadline is November 1st. You must get vaccinated. If you don't get vaccinated, you're going to get vaccinated. So she's going to get the axe and she's going to go. And she has told them, I'm not getting the vaccine. sorry, not getting the vaccine. And this is the point to bringing up this story. What I would tell everybody else. We saw this with Southwest Airlines last week. If you've made the decision, all right, you've made the decision, you are not going to get vaccinated for whatever reason it is, that you're not going to get vaccinated, and your employer threatens to fire you from it. Let them fire you. Don't worry about having a termination on your record, because if you resign, if you quit, you lose all protections from fighting for your job back. Now, you may never get that job back, but here's what's going to be on your record, forever and ever, is that you gave in, you quit, right? And then when it's decided 2 years from now, 5 years from now, and when you see the TV commercial, did you get fired for not being vaccinated? Well, we can help you. Well, guess what? If you quit, you'll never be able to get that help. If you quit that job when you know you're right, you'll never be able to get that legal help. Let them fire you, all right? And then you get a bunch of your other workers, and you go put a class action lawsuit in your place, and then you go own them, okay? So don't quit. Let them fire you. Right.
Well,
good for her. Good for her standing up for her principles.
Yes.
Make them the bad guy. Make them be the one that fires you for standing up for your rights.
Right. And her position is, she's like, look, she's trying to have a second child. She's 37 years old, which is already lends itself to a higher risk pregnancy.
In a higher risk, yep.
Right. So she doesn't want to take a chance. And we don't know. There hasn't been enough information. There hasn't been enough study, because quite frankly, there just hasn't been enough time of the long-term effects. There may not be any immediate effects on pregnant women and their babies, but they don't know what the long-term effects potentially could be. And there's no way that they can, because you have to have a long-term before you can determine long-term effects.
Right.
But what got me about this is the same exact thing that got me about the Biden administration. Early on, you remember the Biden administration said, no, we're not. There's not going to be any mandates. We don't believe there's going to be a need to do mandates. Same thing, governor here in California said, no, we don't believe there's going to be a need to do mandates. Well, ESPN and Walt Disney told their employees, it's going to be your choice. We're going to encourage you to get it, but we're not going to mandate that you get the vaccine. And now all of a sudden, because there are some employees who decided, okay, well, since it's my choice and you're not going to mandate it, I'm not going to get it. Well, all of a sudden we found out that we're not going to mandate it, or it's your choice. What it meant was, well, it's your choice as long as we choose what we tell you to choose. So it's really not a choice. It never was, and they're frigging liars.
Right. Yeah, there'll be no mandate as long as everybody gets it. Right.
Right.
But if everybody doesn't get it, then we're going to mandate it. Yeah.
I'm not going to mandate that you do anything as long as you do exactly what I tell you to do.
Right. Exactly.
It's like being voluntold.
Yeah, exactly right. So
mandatory volunteers.
Allison, good for you. Fight the power. And good luck with the hopefully conceiving that second child. So
well, and it's funny. I sit on a school board, and I'll just say this publicly. I will not, absolutely positively will not, if the state tries to push for employees to be fired or laid off because of not receiving the mandate. I will not support that. I will not vote for that. Because I'm like this. What you're telling people is you should lose your livelihood because you refuse to have a chemical put in your body. And before people go into this, well, we mandate other vaccines. Well, other vaccines have been studied and used safely and studied long-term for decades before we ever decided to mandate them.
Yeah. Come on. Polio is always the one they want to pull out of their butt, right? Decades, over 20, 25 years of testing before it was put forth into the general public and studied for 20 years.
Well, not just put forth to the general public. I'm talking about before it was mandated.
Yes.
That's the thing I'm talking about. Yeah. It's one thing to put it out there in the general public because you have to do that in order to get the long-term data.
Yeah.
But we're talking about, and during a pandemic, once again, they put it out there don't get me wrong, it's a miracle they got it done and did it so fast, and I'm glad that they did. But having said that, before you start mandating that people take it, how about let's find the long-term effects of it before you start putting mandates on people.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely right. So good on you, Allison. We'll be following you wherever you end up.
We got you back. We got your back.
Come over to one of the other conservative sports networks, and we'll see you there. So, all right, Craig, let's take a look over here at our parting shot. I know this one is more well placed, talking about the election cycle, but I'm really getting to the point now with certain issues like, I don't know, pulling statutes out of city halls or forcing people, to be fired from their jobs over vaccinations. I'm really, this is becoming my philosophy for most everyday things now. Says, guess who will still be your friend no matter who you vote for? Says, not me, because I'm not friends with communists. Well, you know what? That's correct. That's how I am, I think, at this point. And you said, listen, that you look forward to the point where we all get together and have a civil discussion. I'm not there, Craig. I really believe if the New York City Council or people and members or even citizens of New York want to see Thomas Jefferson's statue taken out, or if we have companies like ESPN and ABC that mandate terminations due to lack of vaccination, you know what? We're not even going to have a discussion. We're not even going to be friends. You're just a communist, and I hope you cross against the light at the intersection. Let's just say that.
I will tell you, I just realized that part of the issue is that there are a lot of people out there who are ignorant. And the thing about ignorance is there's two types of ignorance. There's people who are ignorant because they have bad information or they're not getting good information, and that's a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people who just read the mainstream media, follow the mainstream media, and MSNBC, CNN, yep, the ABC networks, the lettered networks, and the communists at some of these places. But then for them, what I've come to realize is, for many people, they're like in the Matrix and don't know they're in the Matrix, right?
Exactly right.
They don't know. They don't know. And the problem is that by simply shutting them off, we can't give them a chance to take that red pill. What we have a responsibility to do is to make sure that they know that red pill exists, that they have an opportunity to know and hear the truth. Now, there's also a percentage of people who are willfully ignorant. When I say willfully ignorant, I mean that they're ignorant because they just choose to be. They don't want to hear the truth because the truth doesn't fit the narrative that they want. And those are the people
give me the blue pill and the T-bone steak.
Right. And then there are those who are just the frigging liars, right? Those are the ones that we are battling against. That's Agent Smith, right?
Yep, exactly.
Those are the ones we're fighting against. And so, I always tell people this. As your friend, I will be your friend, but you will always get the truth out of me. You will always get the blunt truth out of me. And if you don't like it, well, then guess what? You're going to be the one to decide that you're not going to be around for the conversation. But I'm gonna have the conversation. If you don't like it, well, then I guess we're not going to be friends.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, folks, that's going to do it for today's program. We appreciate you joining us here on the Taco Tuesday edition of the Rundown. Do our little shout out to our good friends at Gorilla Machining and Grid Defense. We appreciate everything they do. Check out their websites. Their descriptions are there, listed below, so you can check out them. But then there's also the California Republican Assembly. You should be checking them out as well, especially if you're in California, right, Greg?
Exactly. We are the freedom fighters here in California. So check us out. The link is in the description below.
All right.
And that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. Talk to you tomorrow.
Another one in the bag. See you tomorrow.